Bain & Company just released its mid-year private equity report. And I think while we saw a tremendous downdraft in deal making, particularly in most of the major markets in March and April, recently the activity in the deal markets has snapped back quite rapidly. Today on the show, we'll share highlights from Bain & Company's report, including the lasting impact of the COVID-19 crisis in the second half of 2020 and into 2021. I'm Hugh MacArthur, head of Bain's global private equity practice, and this is Dry Powder. So, in terms of the lasting impact, we really see three different things that the industry is grappling with in a major way. The first is something that is an acceleration of a trend that's been going on for well over a decade in the private equity industry, and that is that sector expertise actually matters. And in fact, it matters more than ever before. Sector specialists have deep domain knowledge, industry contacts, and a high number of repetitions in a given sector. And that leads to a number of things. One is understanding what quality deal flow looks like. In post-acquisition, specialists actually are able to better know what to do beyond financial engineering and figure out how to drive value in partnership with management teams. And I think that that's going to be even more important as we come out of this crisis, because managers are going to be grappling with challenges that they have never really faced before. If you are in the retail healthcare business, for example, a lot of those businesses have had to get into what's called telemedicine during the crisis. Many of them are now in the technology business, whether they like it or not. And so I think it's going to be even more important to understand not just the conventional wisdom of the past in the sector, but where that sector is going to change and where the profit pools may shift as a result of customer behavior, or potentially for supply chain needs or safety protocols or other things that are going to really rewrite cost structures, rewrite capabilities, rewrite the way you need to actually present yourself to the market. That brings me to point number two. I think that there is a fundamental reevaluation that needs to occur in all value creation plans made by private equity investors for every company that they've invested in. And that means really looking at what's been underwritten. What are the three things you believed that were going to create value in a business when you actually bought it? And are they still true? It's really the most basic of questions, but it needs to be asked in the light of COVID-19. If you think about an industry like grocery retail, for example, people have been worried about going to the grocery store. And so if there is an option to get food in any shape or form delivered to the home, a lot of people have taken it. And that means if you're a grocery store, you are now in the logistics business. If you owned a grocery chain as a private equity investor 6 months ago, you weren't thinking about any of that because it was completely irrelevant. But as a result of COVID-19, you need to think about it because these types of consumer behaviors have been pulled forward by 5 or 7 years. And so it needs to be grappled with today. And so fundamentally, you've got to look at every business and say, what has changed? Has something changed in the customer behavior? Has something changed in my need for a more resilient supply chain? Has something changed in my financing? Has something changed around employees that is going to cause what I underwrote when I bought this business to be different? Sometimes the answer may be no, but if you don't ask the question, you could be blindsided. And that brings me to the third trend that really has been a hot topic of conversation with GPs and LPs that we've interacted with over the last couple of months. We have all been forced to do business in a virtual way. And I think that because we've all been forced to do this and found out that we can do this, that the toothpaste is not going back in the tube. You now have a substantial fraction of LPs telling us they would actually invest in a first-time fund or a brand new fund without having face-to-face meetings, and that would have been unthinkable even 2 months ago. So I think as folks get comfortable with digital technology, they're comfortable utilizing it for the entire investment value chain. Everything from sourcing deals to doing due diligence and underwriting deals to monitoring portfolio companies can be enhanced with the intersection of big data, advanced analytics, and automation. I'm not waiting for a confidential information memorandum to come in the door and evaluate it along with everyone else. I'm proactively mining a lake of companies to look for the characteristics that I like for businesses and begin the process of reaching out to them and do it faster. Because speed to insight is everything in the private equity industry. Frankly, it's everything in business. And the faster I can get to where I want to go, and the more efficiently I can use technology to do all of that, the more productive that I'll be as an investor. If you'd like to take a deeper dive into the mid-year private equity report, email us at drypowder@bain.com. I'm Hugh MacArthur. Thank you for listening.